Welcome back to Superly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Yeah, today we're pulling from a SpeakDuo lesson.
Right, and you can go to SpeakDuo.com to meet new people from around the world who are practicing English on video calls to become more confident with their speaking abilities.
Exactly. So let's get right into today's critique of professional nuance.
The discussion begins with the concept of efficient communication between close collaborators.
Right. The phrase from the lesson is a shorthand.
The weakness in how most learners use or understand this is confusing it with inside jokes or lingo.
Yeah, that's a really common trap because inside jokes are, well, they're just for humor, and lingo is just technical industry vocabulary.
So the suggestion for improvement when analyzing your own workplace dynamics is to recognize shorthand as a deep psychological connection.
Exactly. It implies that entire sentences are replaced by just a look or maybe a single word due to a long shared history.
To give you a concrete example of this in action, think about two partners who have worked together for years.
One might say to a colleague, "My business partner and I have developed a shorthand. I just have to look at her during a meeting to know she disagrees with the proposal."
Let's analyze how to ask for detailed explanations without sounding demanding.
The target phrase here is "walk me through it."
I'd say the weakness of the standard alternative, "explain it to me," is that it's too brief and abstract.
Right, and it kind of puts you in a subordinate position, like in interrogation, where you are admitting defeat.
My suggestion for a better approach is to use "walk me through it" to frame the request as a collaborative journey.
That completely changes the dynamic to a step-by-step chronological breakdown rather than a basic demand for facts.
A concrete example would be when you're dealing with a complex problem or new software with your boss.
You'd say something like, "I'm not familiar with this new dashboard. Could you walk me through the update process step by step?"
Moving on, the discussion now shifts to describing accidental or awkward entries into a space.
Yeah, the phrase to examine is stumble in.
The weakness of using a phrase like barge in or walk in is that they send the completely wrong message about your intent.
Totally. Barge in is aggressive and walk in is just too neutral to excuse an interruption.
So the actionable suggestion is to employ stumble in when you need to suggest clumsiness or a lack of bad intent.
It perfectly communicates that you accidentally interrupted something private without making you look malicious.
For a concrete example, imagine you're doing an IELTS speaking Part 2 test and need to describe an embarrassing moment.
You could tell the examiner, "I didn't realize the board meeting had started, and I accidentally stumbled in right as they were discussing the merger."
Next, we explore how to describe the fluctuating nature of long-term experiences.
The phrase we are critiquing here is highs and lows.
The weakness of the most common alternative, pros and cons, is that it's just too analytical and static.
Yeah, pros and cons feel like a spreadsheet. They don't capture any real feeling or duration.
The suggestion for improvement is to choose highs and lows because it is emotional and chronological.
Right, it implies a genuine journey with actual peaks of joy and valleys of difficulty.
A concrete example of this would be reflecting on your career path during an interview.
You might say working as a junior doctor is rewarding, but it definitely has its highs and lows, especially regarding sleep deprivation.
The focus turns now to emotional vulnerability and how to describe it vividly.
The idiom in question is pour your heart out.
The glaring weakness of confusing this with a word like vent is that venting is really just releasing steam or frustration.
Exactly. Venting is mostly about anger, whereas this phrase is a much heavier, more intimate action.
So my suggestion is to reserve pour your heart out for moments involving sadness, deep secrets, and real trust.
It's for when you are truly opening up your core self to someone else.
Looking at a concrete example, think of a situation involving personal or colleague confidence.
You would say she was feeling utterly overwhelmed by the project failure and finally poured her heart out to her mentor about her imposter syndrome.
We now introduce a slang phrasing for describing tedious tasks.
This one is fun. The phrase is a bit of a punish.
The weakness of just calling something a hassle or annoying is that those words lack the necessary weight.
Yeah, a hassle is minor, but a punish implies something is grueling and mentally draining.
The suggestion here is to use this Australian or British slang to add color and convey enduring a self-inflicted sentence.
It is definitely stronger and more expressive than just saying something is boring.
A concrete example would be complaining about administrative tasks in a casual workplace setting.
Like saying I had to reformat the entire entire 500-page compliance manual over the weekend, honestly, it was a bit of a punish.
Let's discuss idioms related to persistence and superstition.
The phrase we're looking at is 3 times a charm or a third time's a charm.
The weakness of simply saying, try again, is that it just sounds like a flat instruction.
It really has no emotional resonance or optimism attached to it.
My suggestion is to use 3 times a charm as a hopeful declaration that previous failures were just bad luck.
Right, it gives that specific third attempt a magical probability of success.
As a concrete example, consider a professional certification scenario.
You might tell someone, I failed the CPA exam twice, but I've signed up for February. 3 times a charm, right?
Our final critique concludes with a formal verb for participation.
And that phrase is partaken.
The weakness of using basic verbs like do or join in professional settings is they don't provide any stylistic distance.
Yeah, they are just standard functional words with no real flavor.
The suggestion for improvement is to use partake to sound more formal or even add a layer of sophisticated, ironic distance, depending on your tone.
It implies sharing a portion of an activity, but with an almost old-fashioned or ritualistic vibe.
For a concrete example, think about navigating tricky workplace politics.
You could state, the new manager is very professional. She refuses to partake in office gossip.
Those were some solid critiques on how to elevate your vocabulary, but now I'll hand it over to you to conduct the quiz.
All right, I have 8 questions today with options A, B, and C.
I will advise the listeners to pause the critique if they need extra time to think about the answers.
Good call. I will read the sentence with a blank, read the options, and then repeat the target phrase a few times.
Let's get right into it.
Question 1. After years of collaborating on complex architectural designs, the partners developed a blank that bypassed the need for lengthy explanations.
Option A, highly effective shorthand. Option B, deeply unspoken agreement. Or option C, complex signaling system.
We are looking for highly effective shorthand. Highly effective shorthand.
Feel free to pause the critique here if you need to think about the answer.
The answer is option A, highly effective shorthand.
As a quick reminder, this relates to the efficiency based on shared history we discussed earlier.
Question 2. Since the software update completely changed the dashboard interface, the IT director had to blank step by step.
Option A, guide her right around it. Option B, walk her safely through it. Or option C, talk her totally out of it.
We want walk her safely through it. Walk her safely through it.
Pause the audio if you need a moment to choose.
The correct choice is option B, walk her safely through it.
This refers to the step-by-step explanation context we covered.
Question 3. During the highly confidential board meeting regarding the merger, a junior analyst accidentally blank.
Option A, wandered past. Option B, barged ahead. Or option C, stumbled in.
Think about stumbled in. Stumbled in.
Take a second and pause if needed.
The answer is option C, stumbled in.
A quick reminder that this captures the accidental and awkward entry nuance perfectly.
Question 4. Writing a doctoral dissertation is a grueling process characterized by its inevitable blank.
Option A, highs and lows. Option B, peaks and drops. Or option C, twists and turns.
The phrase is highs and lows, highs and lows.
Hit pause if you're still deciding on this one.
The answer is option A, highs and lows.
Just to recap, this describes the emotional journey and fluctuation we talked about. Question 5. Feeling utterly overwhelmed by the sudden loss, she found solace when she was able to blank to her oldest confidant.
Option A, open her mind entirely. Option B, pour her heart out openly. Or option C, let her spirit safely show.
We are listening for pour her heart out openly. Pour her heart out openly. Pause here if you need to think.
The right answer is option B, pour her heart out openly.
Remember, this connects to the deep vulnerability definition from earlier in the critique. Question 6. Reviewing the dense 500-page corporate compliance manual over the weekend felt like blank.
Option A, a real tough grind. Option B, quite a long ordeal. Or option C, a bit of a punish.
Focus on a bit of a punish. A bit of a punish. Pause if you need a bit more time.
The answer is option C, a bit of a punish.
That brings back our discussion on the slang for grueling and tedious tasks.
Question 7. After failing the strenuous certification exam twice, he scheduled his final attempt, hoping that blank.
Option A, 3 times a charm. Option B, the third is a sweep. Or option C, triple is a triumph.
The phrase is 3 times a charm. 3 times a charm.
Go ahead and pause if necessary.
The correct answer is option A, 3 times a charm.
As a reminder, this is the hopeful third attempt idiom we reviewed.
Question 8. Despite the intense pressure from her peers, the newly appointed manager refused to blank the office gossip.
Option A, interfere in. Option B, partake in. Or option C, immerse in.
The target is partake in. Partake in.
Pause for a moment if you need to make your final choice.
The answer is option B, partake in.
This relates to the formal participation distinction we highlighted.
Well, that wraps up the quiz portion.
To quickly recap the main points of today's critique, using specific actionable vocabulary like shorthand, partake, and stumble in helps you sound much more native and precise.
Yeah, the actionable suggestion here is to practice implementing these nuanced phrases instead of relying on basic functional words.
We invite you to submit your own phrases or work back in again for more feedback in future critiques.
And don't forget to visit SpeakDuo.com to practice these phrases in real conversations.
Thanks for tuning in to today's critique.
Keep practicing.